Hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Suha Soydan. I'm working at Özyeğin University Center for Entrepreneurship. To celebrate the Global Entrepreneurship Week, we will be hosting a series of events this week as Center for Entrepreneurship and Fit Startup Factory, Girişim Fabrikası. We will be hosting 3 international stakeholders who are actively contributing to the Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem. And if you would like to follow other events, please do check our website. My colleague will be sharing the link via the chat box. If you have not had any chance to register for the rest of the events, please do so. All the events will be held in English. We would like to do these events inclusive, so we will be holding all the events in English. This year, we are organizing these events as a part of a wider project. Recently, Özyeğin University received the funding from European Union and European Institute of Innovation and Technology. So we are running a program specifically designed for international students. And our goal is to provide more opportunities for international stakeholders to be involved in the Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem. And in the coming months, we will be having more of these events. Today we have a very experienced international entrepreneur with us. We have Shan Yu, who is the CEO and co-founder of Paraşüt. Paraşüt is a fintech company, and we will be hearing the story of Shan. How did he start working on this idea, and why did he choose Turkey, and all the details. So I would like to thank each one of you who took their time to be here attending this event. I hope this will help all of you in your entrepreneurial endeavors. So let's move on with Shan. Hi, Shan. Thank you for joining us. How are you? Okay, let's see. I've sent you. Okay, yeah. I cannot hear you, Shan, at the moment.
What about now?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to plug my headphones back in.
Okay.
And now?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Okay, great. No, I'm just saying there's a lot of participants here. I think this is the most crowded Zoom call I've ever been on. So it's really good to have all of you guys here. I hope my story will be interesting for you guys, but I'm very flattered that you guys are joining the call, listening to me.
Thank you so much. So, as an international entrepreneur who is residing in Istanbul, can you please tell us about yourself? Who is Shan Yu, and how did he end up in Turkey?
Yeah, so let me see what I can tell as briefly as I can tell it. So I'm Chinese American, first of all. I was born in China, near Shanghai. I grew up there for about 8 years of my life, and then moved over to the US, to a bunch of places in the US I lived there for elementary school, middle school, high school, and then went to college. Went to Harvard, studied economics. And then after college, I went to work in finance on Wall Street, first in New York at an investment bank called Lehman Brothers. Then I moved over to San Francisco to work with a PE fund. Did that for about 4 years. And then when I was 25, started reconsidering. There's Ismail Hoja, I see him right now. I started reconsidering what I was going to do with my life when I was 25. You can call that the quarter life crisis. Basically, you know, I mean, it's really hard to understand who you are, what you want to do when you're young. So you just have a bunch of ideas and you have to test them out. So I think, you know, that's what I did. Tested out a bunch of things, but realized that maybe finance wasn't exactly what I had in mind for the rest of my life. So I came to a decision point where, you know, do I stick with something that I've been studying for 4 years, doing professionally for 4 years, so 8 years of my 25-year-old life, which seemed like a lot of time. But then I was thinking as well, you know, hopefully I'll live to about 65, 70, maybe even longer. So I still have a lot more years in my life ahead of me. So I stick with something that I've done for 8 years that I wasn't very satisfied with, happy about, or do I change now, make that hard decision to change now, so I can have a more of a gratifying career for the next 20, 30 years of my career. And so I made the decision to change. And during that decision, that big decision was one of the things that actually led me over to Turkey. Now, how did that happen? Well, I started thinking, okay, I wanted to study economics because I had this experience growing up in China, seeing economic development happen in that country. I thought that there was something I wanted to do in economic development, but I had no idea what that was. Do I want to get a PhD in economics? No, I didn't see myself as that academic oriented. Finance, I thought maybe it was a stepping stone over there, but I think I just deluded myself because I think finance was just paying really well for a new grad, so that wasn't really going there. Then there was the NGO world, or maybe the Economic Development Bank world. And eventually, after talking to a lot of people, I decided on the NGO world with an NGO called Endeavor, which had a really interesting model for me. Endeavor helps entrepreneurs in developing markets. The idea is that entrepreneurs bring technology, bring innovation, bring new business ideas, and it's a very large stimulant to economic development. And Endeavor at that time just opened their office in Turkey. I was fascinated with Turkey. I had a vacation here back in 2007, really loved the country. So now, as I was deciding this was in 2009, 2010, I decided, why not? Let me try to experience something new, come to Turkey, work for a while here, maybe then go back to the US, go to grad school of some kind, and then figure out what I want to do. But one thing led to another. Then that was over 10 years ago, and now I'm still here.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So while you were studying at Harvard University, you didn't have any idea about starting a company or being an entrepreneur, right?
No idea. I mean, so I come from a somewhat traditional family, it's an Asian family. It's very much like a Turkish family, or you guys are from all over the world. But just imagine what they wanted was for me to be a doctor, or maybe a lawyer, or a doctor, engineer. I think was the top two choices. Maybe a lawyer, but something stable, something that paid well. Finance was already a little bit extreme for them.
Mm-hmm.
So entrepreneur, definitely no, that was not part of what I understood to be a career option.
Okay, so you didn't have an idea about entrepreneurship, or you didn't want to start a company back then, but then you completed your career in investment banking and private equity and started working for Endeavor in Turkey. So you were working with the startup founders, I guess, in Endeavor, and you are helping with them in their financial aspects and with lots of other details. So how did you turn out to be an entrepreneur as you were helping startup founders?
Yeah. So that's a large reason why I was actually just working with other entrepreneurs. Because I mean, the entrepreneurs I worked with here, they were very inspirational. They were building great businesses, really innovative ideas that they were bringing. I was working with Alem Shah. He at the time had 4129, which was a digital marketing agency, but he's gone on to do a lot more things. I was working with Fatih and Farhat from Positron, then became monetized, and now they're doing something new again, right? So very inspirational guys and gals. Very inspirational people. And I thought, okay, maybe this is something I can look into seriously, because you are bringing in, I love technology for sure, and you are bringing in innovation and technology and new ways to do things into a market. So, why not? I think the other thing is, and I think a lot of the foreign students here will appreciate a lot, is living in a foreign country completely brings you out of your comfort zone. So you start to reevaluate a lot of things. You start to understand exactly how powerful of a person you can be, that you can actually survive in a different place, not just survive, but really thrive. And Turkey happens to be a place that is very welcoming to foreigners. So that was another aspect that I thought that, I can actually do this. I am able to, within my talents or hard work, bring different ideas, different people, different resources together to achieve something. So maybe I can become an entrepreneur. So I think living in Turkey actually kind of showed me that as well.
Okay, so being an international figure in a different environment, develop new skills, and as you said, you realize that you can bring different people and different resources together, and you can create a value out of it. So how did you come up with the idea for Parachute? I'm sure, as you said, you were working with lots of different entrepreneurs and interacting with lots of different verticals and technologies and business opportunities. But what was the reason behind starting a fintech company?
Yeah. At that time, I had some friends. We kept talking about different ideas. This idea, that idea, could it work? Started investigating some of the ideas too. We formed groups where we tried to push the idea forward to see if it could work. And this is Parachute was one of the ideas. The other ideas maybe were a little bit more fantastical. Probably wouldn't have worked in real life. But this was very solid, very grounded. And it came again, Suha, as you said, from because I was already consulting, helping entrepreneurs and they were running small businesses and one of the biggest problems they always had was, okay, what are my financials, right? So you're an entrepreneur running a business, but you don't quite understand your revenue or your expenses or your profitability, your balance sheet, your receivables, your payables. So it's kind of like driving a race car, but your windshield's dirty and you don't see how fast you're going. And so it's hard, right? So you want to drive as fast as you can, but you don't have the instruments, the readings, the meters to help guide you. You don't have Google Maps to help guide you drive wherever you want to go. So that's kind of like managing finance. And then when I looked beyond the entrepreneurs I was working with, I realized, okay, Turkey is a land of micro small businesses. 99% of the businesses here are 10 employees or less. And all of them are having the same problem. Wow, that's a big problem to solve. Wow, if I can do something here, then that could affect millions of small businesses and in return, millions and millions of business owners and employees and people's lives here if I can help them manage their businesses better. So what could that be? Okay, it could be a software. So when you say fintech, I actually work at the intersection of software as a service, and we consider ourselves a software as a service, but also with fintech components because we do have integrations with banks and payments and e-invoicing and all that. But anyway, so I thought, okay, let's develop a technology that they can use to help track all of their financials, to help issue e-invoices, help then make payments, get financing, and so on. So we call this technology a bookkeeping software, which then became Parachute.
Lovely. So you checked for all possibilities, and then you worked on in detail in some of them, and then you came up with Parachute. But you are from an economics background, so I guess by then you did not have any skills in programming, let's say, or design. So how did you form your initial team to make this idea a reality? How did you go from idea to your execution stage?
So I did do some programming when I was in middle school and a bit of high school. Design I've read about before. Obviously, really haven't done anything about it. But this is one of the things where I encourage all of you guys to think about your past experiences, and you'll be surprised how many different subjects you've come upon, either through coursework or reading articles or even just playing around with it. That don't ever underestimate yourself. Don't ever think that, this is not my major, therefore I cannot do it. You could pick it up. It's even easier to pick it up now than it was a decade ago, than it was, 2 decades ago. I'm watching YouTube all the time, just learning things from YouTube. I mean, it's all out there, right? So the way I approached it was, okay, how do I build software? What do I need to learn? Where can I learn it? Well, maybe I can go to the universities around here. So I actually went to Boğaziçi and convinced the professors there that although I'm from an economics background, I'm smart enough where if I can take some remedial classes, I can enter into a master's program. And they were like, okay, fine. So I convinced them, they let me in. And there I started working with students over there to see if I can find co-founders. But I started learning programming again from there. And then I realized that, everything is open source. Everything's online. So I just went online, learned a bunch from online, eventually dropped the software engineering master's at Boğaziçi, learned everything. And then the co-founders I did meet, I actually met through Endeavor. So I met Dutch there because his wife was a colleague of mine. He was a longtime developer. So I talked to him, I convinced him, hey, I'm going to be the one doing the programming, but I just need an advisor. Will you be my advisor? He said, sure, why not? So he started advising me. I was coding, but then eventually he jumped in and he started coding. I was like, okay, fine. So we split up the work. He was working on back end. I was working on front end. Then we built it, but the software looked poorly designed. So I started reading design books, again, going online. Everything was there, trying to learn design from online. Learning CSS, HTML, but really design concepts. How do we actually structure it? We used this framework called Twitter Bootstrap, but it still didn't look good. So I talked to another friend who I met through Endeavor, Fari, and I said, okay, can you be my advisor here? I'll design everything, but just, walk me through some of the concepts. He said, fine. But then eventually he started designing. So then my advisors became my co-founders, and then that's how we built the company.
Lovely. So actually, you had a strategic plan. So in order to find, let's say, developers, you enrolled for a master's program where you can interact with them, and then in order to find designers, you checked your previous connections, and then you created your founding team. So what is
so I think that's a really good point that you raised. And there I was also trying to network. I was organizing startup entrepreneur events. I was organizing hackathons. We had this hackathon called Codathon. Actually, Özyeğin University hosted back at the Altunizade campus. Özyeğin University was gracious enough to help me host the first event there. So I don't know if you guys play chess or maybe strategy games or whatever, but there's this idea that you want to move your pieces to the center, or you want to occupy certain strategic places. Life is kind of like that, right? Because you got to make these moves. You got to put yourself in situations, circumstances where you can see where opportunities do open up to you, right? So if you're sitting in the living room thinking about startup ideas, but you're not going out there, meeting people, talking to people, opportunities are not going to happen. So I think, Suha, that's a really good point. Create those opportunities as much as you can.
You need to definitely actively seek opportunities so you can come up with them or encounter with them. Otherwise, it will be much more difficult. So you had your co-founding team as a three people team. What do you think about the formula of a great co-founding team? What kind of skills or what kind of qualities should co-founders or founders should have at the early stages of a company?
Yeah, so I think you guys probably ran into articles that said, there should be a hacker, a hustler, and a hipster. So hacker is the developer that was Dutch on our team. Hustler, I guess, was a business guy, so that was me on the team. Hipster was a designer, that was Fari on the team. So we had that kind of formula going. And beyond those titles, hacker, hustler, hipster, it's really, okay, I needed some people to complement me. We were going to build a software product. So, okay, we needed the business aspect, sure, but then we needed the technology aspect. And in order to deliver this product, to make it as easy as possible for small business owners, because these are very five person operations, 10-person operations. They don't have time to invest in learning a software. They need to pick it up and use it right away. So it needed to be well designed, intuitive, so that therefore we had the hipster, the designer element, right? But each business you enter into will require maybe different elements. But the most important part is, you do want to pick someone who's going to complement you. You have a certain set of skills. If it's enough, great, but most likely not. You'll need someone with another set of skills. And even beyond that, I think, it's kind of like a marriage. If you guys are in relationships, you'll realize that, okay, there needs to be harmony involved. There needs to be, so the complementary part of the relationship is that person thinks in a different way. It stimulates you, so you both grow together. But conflicts are gonna come. Honey, like, what are we gonna do this Sunday? Well, I want to watch a movie. No, I want to go to brunch. No. And if you fight about it, all these small things or even big things, right? And you cannot resolve the conflict, that relationship is going to break apart. So how do you guys resolve conflicts? How do you guys come to a common understanding of each other? Maybe make compromises, but don't see it as compromises. Don't hold it as a grudge. But the conflict resolution is quite important in a co-founder and what you're looking for co-founders.
Okay, so from a timeline perspective, how long did it take you to move from idea stage to your early MVP, minimum viable product? What did you do during this phase? And are there any things that you think about now and say, I wish I had done these things differently?
Yeah, I think we started, first line of code was like in November 2012, and then we got the beta out, or the alpha out, in January or February. So just a couple of months, and then we started the business in October 2013 with a version of the software. So let's say like 6 months and 9 months for the first version. But then after we, because it did require a lot more people to develop the software. So after we got the seed financing, we hired developers and designers, and then it was another 6 months until we released the version where we were comfortable charging people. So, and the idea, that's really hard to say. The idea came and went. Maybe it was really hard to say when I first had the idea, but yeah, let's say about a year from beginning till when we first started charging customers. A year and a half.
But during all this time, you actively worked on the idea and looked for opportunities to test it.
Yeah, at the beginning, actually, I was part-time going to Boğaziçi for school, part-time working on this. And then a couple months in, and then my co-founders were part-time because they had full-time jobs and they were working on this at nights. And then I kind of realized that was going to go too slow and I needed to commit. And out of all the co-founders, I was in the best situation. They had families, they had full-time commitments. I was by myself, so I could commit to this. So I quit everything, committed to this, and then try to see how far I can get with it. Because I mean, if you don't commit to something, it's not gonna succeed.
Yeah. So once you commit and once you have those scarce resources, you have to make the best out of it in the shortest time possible. So that's why I guess you ended up with the product in a pretty short period of time. So in the early stages of your entrepreneurial journey as an international entrepreneur in Turkey, how did you feel about it? Did you feel like you are disadvantaged or advantaged? So how was your experience? And as you said, we are talking about a decade ago, and the entrepreneurial ecosystem was not like that by then. So how did you feel as an international entrepreneur trying to build a company from scratch?
Yeah, It was half and half. I mean, of course, not speaking the language, and I have no excuse for it now, but I'm still really bad at Turkish. Not speaking the language obviously is a hindrance. And then, of course, everyone says that, you know, if you're selling to small businesses, you're selling to you really need to understand Turkish culture. This is not going to work. You need to go drink tea with him. You know, this is not like the US, Sean. Your idea is not going to work. Maybe that was actually an advantage because I said, well, why wouldn't it work? You know, efficiency. Everyone loves efficiency. Why wouldn't it work? So there's half and half. So of course, understanding the language, understanding culture is vitally important. But maybe, you know, starting a business, sometimes you do need to have a fresh perspective. That's a good way to put it. Or naivety is a bad way to put it. So sometimes you do need that. For me, in my personal experience, I found Turkey to be, again, quite welcoming. I think Turkey is always looking for good talent. And if you can show that, if you can prove that, the Turkish society is quite welcoming. So it kind of helped actually being a foreigner, because people were interested in what a Chinese American was doing, a Chinese American from Harvard and worked on Wall Street was doing in Turkey. They took the first meeting, maybe just out of curiosity. And then it was up to me to prove that the meeting was worth it, that I can bring more to the table. But the first meeting was easy for me to get.
Okay, so actually you leveraged your international standing for getting the first meetings, and then after those first meetings you showed what you really have in hand, and then people cooperated with you. Lovely. So you said that you raised some funding throughout the journey of Parachute, and you stated that you raised seed funding and VC funding as well. So how was it like, the process? How did you decide to raise money? And we were talking about 10 years ago, and was it simple, difficult? Can you please share experiences in these respects?
Yeah, so when we started raising money, there was I can't remember. I think 212 VC was around. Revo was just forming their fund. Early Bird, I think, hasn't started their fund yet. I can't quite remember, but it was all quite early in the VC space. And there weren't, I don't think there were any incubators from the universities around yet. But I think now there's, I mean, there's a lot more seed investors. There's ex-entrepreneurs who are looking to actively seed invest. All the major universities have some kind of incubation program. The VCs are more well-established, raising their second funds now, having proven that their first funds are working out, right? So I think the ecosystem has developed quite well. Despite the economic challenges in the country, has developed quite well. Now, so you were asking why did we decide to raise? Well, we decided to raise because we needed to focus on the project full time. We needed to make it economically possible for everyone to drop everything else to focus on this. Then we needed to, even beyond that, hire more developers, designers to be able to build the product. So it was just a complete necessity for us. So without that capital, it would have taken a very long time to build out that product because we were doing it part-time. At that point, maybe we would have burnt out, you know, too many working late hours on weekdays or getting together on weekends, still not seeing results. Maybe we would have burnt out and quit the project. So it was a complete necessity. And then it was just about, again, you know, before that, I had put myself in places of opportunity where I did meet people. So I met Revo before the fund started. So I talked to Jank, I talked to I can't blanking on his name, but it's going to come to me. So I talked to them before they started the fund. And then they were interested, and they introduced me to other investors, and that's how we got the whole thing started.
Okay, so actually, it is really important to know why you need that money, because most of the time people think about raising money as a something good or as a sign of success, but you should have really clear about why you really need this money and how you are going to spend it, because if you do not have a clear path, then you will not be able to raise the money and you will not be able to successfully use it for your endeavor for your startup. Actually, at this point, before we move
Sorry, I was gonna say Bora Yilmaz. I met him actually when I was doing the Codathon.
yeah, Bora Yilmaz, yeah, Bora Yilmaz, yeah.
So he and Cenk, and then also Arkan went off and started Rebel, and I met them through that. Sorry.
Thank you. Actually, before we move on, let's have some questions from our participants, and I have received some questions from the chat, and at this point, I guess we can have Ismail Hocam. Ismail Hocam, I guess you have a question, so can you please share your question with us? I guess we missed him at the moment. So we have Bilal.
Sorry,
He's
let
back.
me kick in. Suha, you gave me the word in the wrong moment. I was on.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so Sean, thanks for attending. It seems like you have to a classic student or an entrepreneur in Turkey. Your story feels like the curious case of Benjamin Button. In a regular movie, we would have a startup in Turkey who develops some product, and then we tell him to go global and think about the globally applicable market, and then maybe he goes in the US and then says, if it's successful, I need to go to Harvard to understand the business, do an MBA, then this is great, I'll take this to the world and maybe to the United Nations. Your vision was just like the reverse. Should I become and take a part in the United Nations, we do something about economics and macroeconomics, or maybe I'll go to Harvard, then I'll go to Turkey and now in Turkish, you do a localized muhasebe product, right? Accounting product. And it feels to the common case like this is a reverse story. Is this a pattern is there a pattern we should learn from here as incubation centers and as
I don't think so. I think it was rather just a person on his journey finding his way through life. I don't think this is a pattern to bring anywhere. I mean, if I had to do this all over again, I would do it the reverse way, which is focus on an idea, bring it to the world, bring it beyond Turkey. But no, I wouldn't say that.
But it's currently just in Turkey, right? Paraşüt
it's currently just in Turkey, yeah. I mean, one of the initial hypotheses was actually because the Turkish market in my mind at the time was big enough, so it was about building a defensible software. So I thought, okay, business software in the CRM space, Salesforce or any of the international companies would blow me out of the water if I try to compete with them. But when it came to the muhasebe space, it's very local, very defensible. That was the idea at the time. Now looking back, that was not maybe the best theory.
All right, thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail Hocam, for your question. And we have another question. Actually, it's about the marketing aspect of the startup Paraşüt. And I remember reading nice feedback about how Paraşüt marketed itself using visuals which are not very common in, let's say, fintechs or for a bookkeeping software or bookkeeping SaaS company. So how did you approach to the marketing side of your startup? And most of the time people raise money, VC money for supporting the marketing efforts as well. So can you please share your experiences? How did you approach to marketing of Paraşüt?
Sure. I mean, I think most B2B marketing, it focuses a lot on functionality, on features. You come with a big list of what the software can do, but that may work for large enterprises but when it came to small businesses, we were in some ways marketing to the consumer. again, these are small operations. They don't have time to kind of dig through a huge list. They are facing a problem. They intuitively understand it. So we still want to intuitively market to them that here, this is a solution that can solve your problems, or this is a solution that can bring your business to the next level. So that's why we used a language, a design language, communication language that spoke to you, the business owner, as a person, not as like a purchasing department of a large company going through a functionality list. Now, when we thought about marketing in B2B marketing, also in B2C marketing, it's very metrics driven. So we think about cost of acquisition. So for a software as a service company, there is the initial cost of acquiring a customer, and then there is the revenue you make from subscription or other sales over the lifetime of the customer. And we try to do marketing where that cost of acquisition will be profitable. So we will be aggressive about marketing, but to a certain degree. If we spend too much and it becomes unprofitable, then we don't have a healthy business. So we think about those metrics. Now in marketing as well, you know, when we first went out, we probably were one of the first companies. Let me just say we were the first company to do B2B marketing digitally via Google, via YouTube, Facebook, and so on. But those channels, once you go and other competitors find out they go as well, the returns from those channels start to diminish. So you'll face that problem as well. You go out to a channel, either you saturate it yourself and the returns diminish, or you and your competitors all go in together and your returns diminish. So we always have to think about new channels as well for marketing.
And if I'm not mistaken, Paraşüt also used benefits from content marketing and inbound marketing. So can you please share your experience about this, because you are investing in your blog, I guess, heavily, and actively producing content.
Very good research, Sue. I'm impressed by your questions. So yeah, along with performance marketing, one of our early bets was content. Small business owners had problems, needed expert content to help solve help guide them. So we started writing blog articles and creating other content to address these small business problems. So it could be something about muhasebe, it could be something even more broad about business management, HR issues, tax issues, etc. And we've been writing content since 2014, since the very beginning. So we created quite a collection of articles here that's generating a lot of traffic monthly.
Okay, thank you so much. Content marketing maybe does not pay at the beginning, but in the long run, it definitely pays and brings in a good return on investment. So we have another question, which is about the name of the company, Paraşüt. How did you choose the name, and why did you choose Paraşüt?
Yeah. So we wanted a exciting name. So first, not such a descriptive name, but a name that solicits a feeling and an emotion. That was one criteria. The name needed to be interesting. Second, of course, the trademark needed to be available, so we could register for the brand. And also the website needed to be available and affordable, because there were some websites that are too expensive. And then said, okay, what could those be? We took sticky notes, wrote our ideas down, try to stick it. I still have pictures around somewhere, but try to stick it to the wall, try to imagine it. We had a dictionary. Do I have it here? So we had, it was actually this dictionary here. So we were just taking a dictionary, just flipping through all the different words. And then I thought, okay, maybe para should be in the name, because, you know.
I see.
So then I started flipping through the P section, and then it was like, okay, parascope, parachute, that's really interesting. And I started imagining, well, you know, you're an entrepreneur, you're taking this leap of faith that you're going to soar, you're going to fly, right? Because your small business is going to succeed. But just in case, bring a parachute along. will help you get there. So then that's how the name came about.
Yeah, lovely, great story. Thank you for sharing. You are currently the CEO of Paraşüt, and you exited from Paraşüt, if I'm not mistaken, after 3 rounds of different VC funding. So how did you and your co-founders decide to exit Paraşüt?
Yeah, so the way we built the startup, there was always an exit in mind within a certain time frame. There are businesses where you do it to generate the income you need, so lifestyle businesses, and there are businesses you try to grow very fast, bring it to a scale, and then possibly exit. So of course the VCs, they have an investment window life cycle, so they invest in 5 years, they would want to see the exit. So Revel invested in 2013. It was 2018, 2019. So we're getting to that window for them that they want to exit. So we were looking around. We were always looking around, and when the opportunity presented itself, it was for a good price. Given everything, we said, okay, this is a good opportunity. Let's go for it. Actually, Andash and I, we haven't fully exited, so we're still working at Paraşüt. We still have shares in the acquiring company. So we're still here as the CEO and CTO of the company.
Thank you. Entrepreneurship and starting a startup is like a roller coaster. Everybody talks about it like that. And as an international entrepreneur in a different culture, in a different legal setting, cultural setting, how did you deal with the ups and downs of this process? And definitely as a business owner, there were some issues due to local or global problems. So how did you manage all these tough situations during this process?
So I think it doesn't matter whether you're a foreigner here or local here, or you're a foreigner somewhere else or a local somewhere else. I think starting a business just innately has ups and downs. Starting your own business, and it's experience, really. I mean, you'll hear entrepreneurs will talk. A lot of them will talk about different kinds of philosophies, stoicism, right? A lot of them will talk about Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and these things. They definitely help. A lot of them will talk about meditation and maybe yoga or some kind of practice where they can be more centered. Definitely help. I was doing all of that as well, trying all these things to quiet my mind or to be in a more emotionally balanced place. Friends, family, if you can share things with them, that would always definitely help. Having a hobby, something away from work that can, you can also focus on or have fun with. Doing sports, getting all that energy out somehow, those will all definitely help. But try different things. I mean, it's all about experience. I think the thing you have to keep in mind is it's never the end of the world. It's always helpful to keep that in mind. And the reason why I say this is you're gonna have a down and it's look like it's game over. It's the end of the world. But wait, it's not, because I think you're still gonna be alive at the end of that, right? So if you're still gonna be alive at the end of that, then it's not the end of the world. So if it's not the end of the world, then it's okay. So it's hard to keep that in mind, but after you experience a couple of these ups, downs, these downs, really, the ups are always feel great. So let's talk about the downs. After a couple times you experience all these downs, you realize a pattern. The first down may take you a month to get over. The second down, you realize, the first down didn't kill me. It's not the end of the world. The second down will take a week. The third down will take you maybe just a day. Fourth down will take you just an hour. You readjust. You're like, okay, this thing happened. I have to accept it. It was out of my control, so nothing I could do about it. Economic situation went bad, currency went bad, nothing to do about it. What do I do now, given this thing? Okay, this thing happened. It wasn't my control. I, effed up, but it happened. What do I learn? What do I need to do at this point? What do I need to change? do it, right? So after a while, and this is, you'll hear people, you'll try to imitate their practices, but you have to learn this for yourself. It'll take practice.
So as we are coming closer to our end, we have a couple of minutes, I guess. I would like to ask about your advice to future founders who would like to start a startup, and as an international stakeholder, I would like you to share your comments for for all international students who are currently studying in Turkey or somewhere around the world. What kind of things they can do to get prepared for an entrepreneurial career or a professional life in this competing world, from your own perspective?
I think as Ismail just said, I have a weird backwards pattern for entrepreneurs. So I think what I try to do in life is just pursue something that I think is very interesting, worthwhile to pursue, something that ultimately I think I'll be proud of doing. So when I came to Turkey, I took that job at Endeavor. It was within my first week here. Previously, I was also interviewing in a bunch of places, and IFC, the International Finance Corporation, they're the investment arm of the World Bank. They called me and they said, "Okay, congratulations, you got a job." I said, "Well, that interview was like 4 months ago. I already moved. I'm in Istanbul." And they're like, "Okay, our process, it's the World Bank. It takes a very long time, but hey, congratulations." And I said, "Okay, can I start in Istanbul instead of at Washington D.C.?" They said, "No, we have to have everyone at headquarters. You have to move back to start the job." And I asked myself, well, these two paths. One is working in this very prestigious organization, but maybe I've gone down that path. It was in the U.S. It was working in a with a big corporation. It was in finance. The other path, completely unknown. So either something very interesting could happen, or at least I have a very interesting story to tell. And I'm sitting here, hopefully having done both, having done something interesting and telling a very interesting story. And I don't have a grand pattern or grand plan for my life, but that's how I'm living. That, there is an opportunity. There's something really interesting. I really want to do it. I think it's going to be interesting for other people too. I think it's going to bring value to other people. And hopefully I'll be proud of the future version of me, that the future version will be sitting talking to 300 students right now, sharing my story. And I'm very proud of this version of me right now. So I just do that.
Yeah, thank you really for all these important points and comments. We really appreciate your time. And actually, if you have some more minutes, we have 2 questions from the chat box. So if you like, we can respond to them.
Sure.
Yeah. So
sure. Be happy to.
Yeah, one of the questions is about, let's start from the second one. Do you have an energy to build a new startup? This is the first question.
Yes, I think I'm still young. Yes, I do. Do you have good ideas? Let me know.
Okay, lovely.
No, I'm going to be looking for other ideas, and if there's something that comes across that's really awesome, then yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah, great. And one of the participants asked about your exit strategy. So you are currently pursuing as the CEO of the company, but the comment was that, and let me read the comment. I think it is important to have a model that when you leave the company, it should sustain. So what about that? Did he structure a company in such a way from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, even if I'm at the company, there should be a model where if I go on vacation, the company doesn't fall apart. No, we've always thought about building a team with clear roles, responsibilities, decision making, with clear ways of planning, setting, goals, yearly goals, quarterly goals. So we've always kind of built a pretty solid team that way. If God forbid, if something happens to me, the company will go on. We would always want a company that is here, because we do have thousands and thousands tens of thousands of customers. We do have a lot of employees. The business is a great business. So it should go on with or without me.
Yeah, lovely. And actually, as you talked about customers, we have one of them here, one of your happy customers. Let me read the comment. Parachute is saving us from so much headache. Glad you stayed in Turkey.
Thank you, John.
He's one of our. And let's talk about something social. Which book you can recommend to us?
Lots and lots. That's always a hard one. But I think if someone, I was looking for my Kobo somewhere. I think if someone Googles for just the top books, I think all my books will come out of that. What am I reading recently? Recently, this book called Biomimicry really struck my mind. It's about how nature has solved a lot of our problems, circular economy, photosynthesis, all of this. So it's interesting to look towards nature. This book was actually written like almost 30 years ago, but it's always interesting to look towards nature for our solutions. I'm reading some books on cooking because during COVID I've really gotten into cooking. So there is Jacques Pipin's book, New Complete Techniques on French Cooking. There's this guy, what's his name? I'm reading this book called, I read a book, Man's Search for Meaning, which is about Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, his experience, his search for meaning in life. The book, America's Test Kitchen, The Science of Good Cooking. That was one of the books. I was reading a book called Superintelligence. Also, there's another one. There was a couple of books on just the impact of artificial intelligence on what it means to be human, or how do we as humans interact with artificial intelligence. So Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. That's one of the books I'm reading right now. And then I always have like maybe a couple science fictions around. So Cryptonomicon, I read during COVID, and reading the other book by the same author, Neuromancer, by William Gibson. So I'm going through that right now.
So it seems like you have a rich library and different tastes, and picking from different fields in order to enrich different perspectives. So
I mean, you should check out what I follow on YouTube as well. So I've got my economic business channels. Then there's the tech channels, learning different kinds of science or engineering. History channels like recent history, paleontological history. My music, so I'm also playing the violin right now. One of the hobbies I started during COVID. So so I got my violin and music channel. So I think again, I don't have a grand plan, but if it's interesting, I try to pick it up. And I think those things will always be it you just as an entrepreneur, it'll give you great inspiration, ideas, or at least balance your life. But you as a person, it'll just make you a more fun and interesting person all around.
Okay, and actually before we complete this inspiring talk, I would like to mention about your TEDx Reset talk that you gave in 2019. You just mentioned about meaning, and the title of your talk was Finding Meaning in a Foreign Land. So it really adds up to what we really want to do here, Journey of an International Entrepreneur. It's around 17 minutes, so I highly recommend all participants here to watch and see the experiences of our esteemed speaker from a different perspective. So I guess we have some questions that we are missing, but we are already over our time. So maybe I can share these questions with you in a written format, and then you will just share your notes.
I mean, if you guys can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever, Twitter, Instagram, both my handles are STA and XYU. Feel free to add me, DM me there, ask any questions you guys have. Be happy to respond.
Okay, so let's have your final remarks, and then we will be closing our chat for the time being.
Yeah, fine. Final remarks. Well, no, it was a pleasure to be able to speak to you guys. I think right now, I mean, what would I have loved to know as a college student or someone graduating from college? It's really hard because if I told myself back then I was going to be an entrepreneur in Turkey, I wouldn't have believed it. So listen to people, listen to their experiences, but you know, ultimately you have to live your life the way you see fit. So
thank you, Sean, for sharing all your experiences, and I'm sure they are really beneficial for future entrepreneurs and aspiring founders. And we are really glad to have you here, and we are looking forward to host you maybe in other events as well. So, dear participants, thank you so much for being here, for joining this event and making this event possible. It is really important to have your comments, questions. We would like to thank you all for contributing with your comments and questions. And once again, I would like to remind that we will have 2 more events during this week. And we will be hosting international stakeholders in Turkish entrepreneurship ecosystem. Please do not forget to register for those events. We are looking forward to meeting you then. Dear Sean, thank you. Wishing you a great success with Paraşüt, and we are looking forward to seeing you, how you contribute to wider entrepreneurship ecosystem. Thank you so much.
thank you. Great questions. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Bye-bye.